grandfather, he traveled quite a bit over the country, but my grandmother, she had asthma real bad. My grandfather, he decided, well, he had to move back to the south, better climate. My dad, he was born in Nebraska, but when they all took off and they moved back down, went to McLean, there south of McLean, and that's where my grandfather, all he bought was this one half section, but he leased some more sections around there for the cattle and whatever. That's what we farming, raising cattle. That was our deal. Okay, but we didn't have a church there at around McLean. We had to go to Shamrock. That's the closest Catholic church. But that's when my grandfather, he grabbed up his other children and moved to White Deer and bought property up there. But Dad, he was 17 years old, and he didn't want to leave McLean. My mother's brother, he worked on this ranch, and my mother and grandmother, they came down and stayed with him because they didn't have any place else to go. Anyway, that's where Dad and Mom, they met, and that's the story how they started everything. My sister, oldest sister, is Bee, and she was born in 1923. Bud, he was born in 1925. Dorothy, she was born in 1927. The folks, they kind of made a mistake on me, because I was born in 1930. I should have been born in 1929. But they really made a mistake on John, because he was born in 1937. So, but Sister B, she was 7 years older than me, and John, he was 7 years younger than me. So anyway, that's about the story of my family. Carol and Aunt Rita, they was not married and whatnot. Aunt Rose, she was staying over at the Bertrand place with her aunt and uncle, and Uncle Adolph and whatnot. She lived with them, but she had a job there, and it was some branch for the farming operation deal there. But I came up to visit with Carol, and he had all these horses and whatnot. And we went horseback riding one time, and his place was about 2 or 3 miles from the Bertrand place. And we just rode by there one time, and there was Aunt Rose. She was out on the porch. Her and Clara Margaret was visiting too and whatnot. We just kind of looked at each other the first time we met and whatever. But we finally got acquainted just a little bit. And they had a dance down in Groom, and I picked her up. And this, let's see, I think it's a 46 Chevrolet car. But the door on the passenger side, it would come open just if you hit a bump, whatever. We was going to Groom. And I told Aunt Rose, I said, hey, that door now, you better kind of watch it a little bit. It'll kind of fly open just a little. Because she was sitting right next to it, and I was sitting over here driving. We hit a bump, and sure enough, that door, it didn't fly open, but it just came loose a little bit. She moved over 2 inches. I got drafted, and that's the reason I went into the service. And I was 19, going on 20, I guess, when I had to go into the service. I took my basic training in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And after I graduated from that, they told us that we was either going to Germany or Korea. And I lucked out. I went to Germany. But I got overseas in Germany, and I lucked out again real well on that. They asked me if there was any part to, they had several different Army camps that I wanted to go to. And I told her, well, I got a sister over here in Germany. She's in Wiesbaden. And they said, well, so we got an Army camp. It's at Wagenheim, and it's about 10 miles from Wiesbaden. So that's where I went. But we traveled all over Germany and whatnot, whatever. I'd go into Wiesbaden every once in a while and visit Sister B. They had access to all kinds of liquor and everything else. All we had is out there is hot beer, you might say, at the camp. But I go in and visit with V every once in a while, and she'd always have a fifth of whiskey for me, whatnot, take back to the camp. Now I was a popular son of a gun. Yeah. When I came in from the field, my dad, he was laying out there on a day bed out on the little porch, had a room off the porch there, and his shirt was just soaking wet. He just soaked through it and he just wasn't feeling good at all. So Mom took him to McLean there, to the doctor, and they didn't have a hospital. But they said, this doctor said, well, said he just had a heart attack. So they called the ambulance and took my dad to Groom. That's where the closest hospital was. And I got in this other car that we had, and I followed the ambulance, and went up there to Groom and whatnot. And I visited with Dad a day or two later after he'd been there. And he said, well, I think I'm going to get over this, be all right. But I went back home, and then we got a call. We didn't have a phone at home, but they called this ranch down there, came over and told me that his dad passed away. His heart gave away and whatnot. So, but I was going to take off to the Groom right quick and whatnot. But this neighbor said, well, no, just stay. They told us to stay home. Yeah, my dad died in May of '53, but me and Anna Rose, we was going strong on that before then. While I was overseas in Germany in our service, we sent letters back and forth all the time and whatnot. And I'd send her presents. Anna Rose and I, we got married in 1953. She got pregnant before we left McLean. We were still living there. But that's when Uncle Bill offered us this job. And he hit me up to move to Turkey then. And we thought, well, that'd be a good deal. And it was. It was a lifesaver. So anyway, we moved to Turkey then. Anna Rose got pretty far along. We had a doctor in the meantime. Okay, while we was still living at McLean, her doctor office was there at McLean. they didn't have a hospital, and the groom was the only one, and it was going strong back then. I moved her up to McLean to stay with Mom, my mother. I had an aunt, Aunt Alma. We were there, and she stayed with her, and meantime, I couldn't quit farming. Said Daddy Turkey, I had a bunch of stuff I had to do down there. I was at Turkey, and Aunt Rose was at McLean. And we didn't have a telephone back then at Turkey, at the place. But I was out farming in the field on a tractor. Okay, and this tractor dealer, that's one we bought the tractor from, and our Uncle Bill bought it. And anyway, he came out and caught me in the field, and he said, "Hey, you're about to become Papa." So I don't really forget that too. So I got that old tractor going just full blast. I took it down to the farm. I parked the old tractor, and usually I was real careful walking under the barn there because I don't really forget that. They had a low beam there that I'd miss it, but I was excited, and so anyway, I hit that and bent the muffler back. Oh, Uncle Bill didn't forgive me for that. But anyway, I took off to McLean then. She didn't commence labor right away, but we was there about the middle of the night, and the doctor, he bedded down in a room there right next to the deal, and the nurse came in and she woke the doctor up. I was in another room there, so they woke both of us up, and she was commenced labor and whatnot, and doctor, he had me to assist him. I had to hold the chloroform over Aunt Rose. You were screaming there, but anyway. That's when Terry was born. Me and Aunt Rose, we had 7 children. Terry was the firstborn, Terry Beatrice, and Bea, my sister. We was pretty close in those years, and that's where she got her name and whatnot. And then here came Monty. Montgomery is what his full name was. The doctor that delivered said, well, won't you put my name in there somewhere? So that's where he got Montgomery. And Clay as for me. Tony Louise, we named her after cousins of ours that we real close with. Yeah, twins came along, William, Kevin, and Karen Adden. And then after they was born, here came Maria Nicole. She got their name from Willie Bixel. And then here came Matthew Vincent. He was born on the 15th of November, and I was born the 16th of November. And I never will forget, I was on the way to Groom to the hospital down there and whatnot. And we was on the way down that, and I said, hey, won't you just hold off till tomorrow, and it'll be my birthday and whatnot. And Aunt Rose, she told me, go to hell. Yeah, we had an old wash machine there in the house, and that was full of diapers all the time. We didn't have a dryer, but we had a clothesline out in the backyard that would fill up the whole backyard, which was a big one. But anyway, we'd hang diapers out there, and I'd hang diapers, and Aunt Rose would too, whatever. But, like I say, that's how we done their laundry back then. I went to work at Pantex in 57, and then I was there 20-something odd years, and then I left there at 79, and I just did odd jobs around and whatever. But Cousin Jack, he was a good friend of Dick Yeager, and Dick Yeager was a foreman at Wagner Ranch. I never will forget, I walked in his office, and I said, I'm Bill Kalka, and Mr. Yeager. And Dick, he settled back down in his chair and whatnot. Said, everybody calls me Dick. We just hit it off real good, real good. He was one more fair foreman. I was in a farm group down there when I first went to work. When the fence foreman, he retired, and that's when I got the fence job. Well, she was in the hospital when the anniversary came around in September. But anyway, like I say, I was there. I stayed there at the hospital. That's when our anniversary came around. Okay, here came the nurse in the room, and I told her, I said, well, we got to celebrate today because that's our anniversary. And she said, hooray, hooray, all that stuff and whatnot, whatever. Okay, like I say, but I stayed there in the hospital, but I had stuff that I needed to do at Vernon. And I told Anna Rose, I said, well, I'm going to leave you for a couple of days and go down in Vernon and take care of this business and whatnot and whatever. But I never will forget that. But that's the first time she ever said that in a long time. But she said, Bill, said, I love you. And that's what I told her back and forth, that I loved her too. I took off, went to Vernon, and took care of my little business there, or the biggest part of it. That's when Tony, she called me, and she said, she was living in Amarillo at that time, and she kind of checked on Aunt Rose too, pretty much. And she said, she's had a stroke, and so I shot back up. I never will forget that too. I went speeding through Childers on the way back up here, and they pulled me over and whatnot. And I told them, I said, well, let's make this short, because my wife, she had a stroke, and she's in the BSA in Amarillo, the hospital there, and I need to get up there. And sure enough, okay, this old policeman, he was nice. He said, take off. And away I went. Got up there, and like I say, she was comatose. She didn't sleep all the time. So, but anyway, I just stayed there. I had a little cot there next to her bed, whatever. And I never will forget one time, I was about half catnapped over my bunk there and whatnot. And the nurse, they'd been in around Anna Rose nearly all day. And they came and shook me and said, your wife, she just passed away. And that was a story on that and whatnot. I always said I'm half Polack. My dad, he was full blood. Well, my mother's Scotch Irish. So, but I said I'm just a half Polack. Thank God. So, yeah.